Yes. And we are back again. It's 6 o'clock, April 29th, and we're here in the city of Newark. I am back once more to share some tips on exploring your personal history, your family history, and your community history. So I'm really excited about all of this. Ladies first, ladies first. How many of y'all remember this song? Woo! Yes, hey Shanita. Word. Let's see. Oh, throughout the universe. I might have to rap. My sister, can I get some? Yes. So welcome to another week of I Am. My name is Noelle Lorraine Williams, and I am the Librarian Associate Teaching Artist at the Teen Room at Newark Public Library, and I am happy to be here. So one of the things that you're probably wondering right now is, why is she rocking Ladies First by Queen Latifah? I know, I think this came out in 1988, probably when I was a teen and I was in 8th grade. And it was amazing to me because this song basically expressed a lot of things that I was thinking of as a young woman, as a burgeoning feminist, and trying to understand what did it mean to be a woman. But a lot of that I learned from my mom. But I was like, what does this mean at this period? So that's one of the reasons I decided to start with this song. And I have a book right here for all of you. I don't know if you all have seen it before. It's called Ladies First. It's by Queen Latifah. And it's actually one of the first books that she wrote. It's a biography of hers. And it talks about growing up in Newark and East Orange, and what did that mean growing up in a working poor neighborhood. Some of you might not know, she lived in the Hyatt Projects. What was one of the first places she lived in before her mom was able to buy a house, which is back at the outskirts of the Ironbound. But this book is just great for our topic today. I Am. Exploring your personal, family, and communal history. So before we start this second part of this series, I would like to, again, take the time, just have a moment of silence to reflect on the people who are being affected. All of us are actually being affected or are affected by what's going on in our lives. Either it's been a direct impact where our friends or our family members or someone else in our community is sick, or just how our lives have changed in so many ways. So I would like to take a moment of silence just to, again, remember the people who have passed, reflect on the people who are sick now, and just a moment of silence to acknowledge this different space and time that we're a part of. So. Actually, so I Am. So what does this book have to do with I Am and history and biography? Well, one of the things when Latifah starts this book is that the intro is actually written by her mom. So her mother explains how exactly she raised Latifah to be the woman she is. And throughout the book, Latifah talks about the ways that her mom's decisions, moving from North Carolina to Newark, being a single mother, going back to school, and fighting for a new reality for herself and her children, really impacted who she was. But what she also does is explain some of her family history, right? So the ways that the conversations that she and her mom had that directly impacted who she was as an artist. So over here in the book, she explains, my mother and I would get into deep discussions about the plight of South African women and talk about how segregation and racism were alive and kicking right here in the very country that was opposed to apartheid in a nation halfway around the world. My mom and I revered those African women. We didn't know because they seemed to be so close to the most royal ancestors of their time. These women are our foremothers. I wanted to pay homage to them, and I wanted in my own way to adopt their attributes. So through Queen Latifah's biography, the book that's written about her life, we come to learn more about Latifah through the story of her mom. Hey, Stephanie. And hey, Nitanya. We get to learn more about Queen Latifah and the impact of her mother on how she understood herself. But for the purposes of today's workshop, we're going to discuss creating our biography, right? So for Latifah, her mother, rest in peace, Rita Owens, her mother impacted her sense of self as a woman, and her mom impacted the way that she goes about her life and also the way she showed her culture. So thank you. So one of the things we're going to do today is I'm going to just give a couple of tips on building our family history. Now, we have to understand, right, as people of color, as immigrants from Europe, the Caribbean, West Africa, everywhere, we have so many different cultures here in New Jersey, and especially here in Newark. We have various histories. Some of them are triumphant and beautiful, and then some of them are challenging, right? So even though we may be yearning to learn more about our family history and learning to understand more about how our family has moved through spaces, we have to also understand that when we do this, it's an opportunity to be compassionate, right? So we have to have empathy and understand that this is also a process for people to enter worlds that they might have put behind, right? Or to go into worlds that they might want to remember again. So it's not time traveling, but what it is it moves us to feel our deeper emotions. So before we discuss some of the tips in kind of engaging our family about their family histories, what you should first do is make a list of all the people you know, right? So in my family, I have a couple of folks that I know, right? I have my mom, my aunts, some of who have passed, rest in peace, some who are still alive. I have my cousins, and we actually have most of the information about our brothers and sisters, our stepbrothers and sisters, the people we were adopted by, our guardians who take care of us, friends who are now family who we might have lived with for years. And so we make a list of those people and their histories. Then we make a list about these people we want to know about, right? So make a list of the people you want to know about. So people like my grandmother, who was someone who was always very mysterious to me. Both of my grandmothers were very mysterious to me. So I always wanted to learn more. So one of the things we should definitely do is make those initial lists. So a lot of the teens, you guys, if there are any teens watching, you guys use like Google Drive. We're always helping teens with Google Drive. Some of them know more about Google Documents than I do in the teen room. You can use that. You can write it on a piece of paper. And you can also make copies of what you write. The whole thing is to do what makes comfortable for you, because this is something you'll engage on and off this year, in the future, going forward. And so one of the things that we definitely want to do in creating our family histories is that we should know, have, again, going back to this whole concept of empathy and compassion, is that we really need to know how people feel as they start. So, like, one of the main questions is reaching out to the person, so your sister, your brother, your mom, or it might be a group of folks. And you say, like, is this a good time to talk, right? Or please let me know if you feel comfortable with these questions. These are some of the questions I'm thinking of sharing with you. So for example, I might want to know, when did our family move from South Carolina? When did you go back to school? When did you decide to go to college? What was it like in Korea? What was it like in Iraq? What was it like growing up and becoming a doctor or a nurse? And so it's very important for us to engage them in these different ways, but also prepare them for it. So what I would suggest is take an opportunity where the person doesn't feel so stressed, right? So maybe like you say, can you possibly do this weekend, or maybe tonight, or in between the time we're watching television? So some of the questions that we'll ask folks will range from different things. So for example, we want to start with questions that are pretty easy and easygoing. So one of the questions, of course, would be like, please, when were you born? Where did you come from? Some of the options we have for taping this is that we could use it, we could tape it on our telephones and upload it to Google Drive, or we can actually create a YouTube account, and we can create the videos, but we can probably, you would do is you would just make it private. So Shanita's asking me, what are some of my thoughts about using family tree apps? I've been using one for a decade, which has helped tremendously. That's a great question, Shanita. I don't use the family tree apps. I use them mostly I use Ancestry and things like that, mainly just to do research. I actually keep written and other kind of typewritten information on the computer. So there's something to me about when I'm printing the various charts that it kind of becomes a little difficult for me. But I want to encourage people to use some of the apps, so on Ancestry, I think it's Family Search. I've also found like templates that are online that people like to use. So do whatever makes you comfortable, but definitely start with a handwritten document and other materials to start the work, because you really want to start and you don't want to really get too caught up in the technology of it until you get to that space. So what we're going to do now is Sharon Davis is going to join me. We're going to do a little role play on how these different conversations can go with your family. Oh, sure, Shanita. Can you, Sharon Davis, please join me? Thank you. Hey.
But what did he say? I'll be your huckleberry.
So right now we're going to do a little bit of role play, just about having a conversation with someone about, their history. So, hi, thank you for agreeing to do this. I'm sure, guys, it won't be as formal with your mom and your dad or your stepmother or your guardian. But what we want to do is engage that we're actually moving into a different space with someone, right? An important space, but it's something that could be fun. So you were telling me that you're from New York. Where are you from in New York?
Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn, New York. Wow, where specifically?
East New York.
East New York. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. Rough part of town.
A rough part of town. Did you live there with your family?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Born and raised in East New York.
Okay. And so I've read a lot about East New York and hip hop and everything like that. Did you guys have a lot of fun? What was your favorite place to go to?
My favorite place to go to?
Yes.
My neighborhood.
Okay. So where in your neighborhood did you like to go to?
My neighborhood, I used to live on Dumont Avenue.
Okay.
In Brooklyn, New York. And 544 Dumont Avenue. Anyway, that was my favorite place to be because the community was great.
Awesome. And what was your earliest memory
of living there?
Yes.
My earliest memory, meeting my neighbors.
Okay.
Had great neighbors. We were all very, very close, very tight. My upstairs neighbors, her daughters, we were close with them and everything. I mean, it was a great community. It was, there was a lot of, it was rough on the outside, but the community was very tight. Everybody knew each other.
Oh,
it was
okay.
like a great big family.
Well, I'm kind of doing this as a part of my book report for school. So can you tell me about some of the most dangerous times in East New York?
No, I don't think so.
Come on. I mean, this is my opportunity to get an A in school. Can you please tell me just something that would be something that folks could grab onto?
I don't think it would be appropriate.
Oh, but this would just be so awesome.
I don't think so.
Okay, cut. So as you guys know, that was a role play where we were looking at what could happen when you have an interview, and the interview can kind of go into a place where folks don't really want to go to. So what we're going to do is that since we're respecting our family and the different people who might be speaking, is that we're going to try to do that role play again in a way that acknowledges that maybe this might be an uncomfortable topic for someone. Okay, so you don't want to talk about East New York. So is there another topic that you would prefer to speak on?
I don't have a problem talking about East New York.
Okay, so what are some of your happiest memories of being there?
Now, some of my happiest memories were every year, because of the tightness of the community, every year we would give a fireworks show.
Okay.
For the 4th of July for everyone within the community. And when I say that, we live surrounded by projects. Okay. And within the center of those projects was a community center and a big park. And within that park, that's where we used to give the fireworks show. And the fireworks show was for everyone within the community. So it brought the community together. And the kids, oh man, it was always a beautiful thing every year.
Okay.
You know, so that, I mean, it was a great community, like I said.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your history and your information, and thanks for sharing the work and coming to the workshop. And thank you. Bye-bye. So great. I hope some of you enjoyed that role play, but I also hope that it kind of gave you an idea of what some of the challenges and the opportunities are for doing this work. And it's almost like you're becoming your own family's personal historian, right? So you can take the time that you need to take to do this. Now, what happens, like even in the story that Sharon shared with us, there are so many things that come up for me as a historian or as someone who studies communities. So the first thing that comes up is she talks about like the parties in the park. So I know from studying hip hop, there were all these parties in the park, and that's one of the reasons in the Bronx and in New York. So that's one of the reasons why things exploded and how hip hop kind of emerged out of this community. Those things are also our family history too. And so before we continue with some other tips, I just want to make sure to encourage you to use the Newark Public Library. We have 2 resources right now for sharing information about your family. So the first resource that we have is digital.mpl, where you can share important information about your family. Now, we're not talking about like your social security number or other things like that, but say there was an event in your family that was very special, or there was a block party that you know, you all want to remember, or there's a vintage photo of your grandmother that you think the rest of New Jersey and the world and archives should have. So please visit the website and email newjerseyreference@npl.org, because our community archive is to also preserve your history too. And then the second thing is we're also doing an archive where we're looking at how COVID-19 is affecting folks now. So we're taking images and pictures and all these different things so that we can remember this moment and all the different feelings we're feeling, the images that we're capturing, the people who have passed, the ways our family and friend dynamics have changed, and the ways that we have changed. So please visit npl.org to find out more about that. So before we go, another suggestion I wanted to give that's not necessarily as formal is to kind of create a family history game with your family. So the good thing about that is I have a whole bunch of these cards that I've been using for these workshops, and I love them. I mean, I don't know, it's because I've escaped from PowerPoint. And so some of them, the games that you could create for your family, you can actually do these cards yourself. So different folks in your family can actually write different questions on the card, and you can actually put it into a bowl, and then everyone can pick it out. This can be something you can do maybe do on a Saturday. And you can even do that with a range of ages. So say if you have a 5-year-old and they have a question, or you have someone who's 21, they can each answer a question. So each person can pick a question or and answer it, or the question can go around the room. So some of those would be like, who were some of your friends you remember from your past? Who are some of your friends now? What school did you attend? You know, where did you live for older folks or even younger folks? And what was your favorite toy? I mean, I always love those questions, because then you kind of find out what exactly folks really care about. And it shares a lot about our emotions too. So, and another one that's great is, what is your favorite place to go to? Like where do you go to be with yourself? just to wrap up, I want to totally encourage everybody to, for more advanced family history. We spoke about creating the list of family members you want to know more about, and family members you already know about. You can actually spend some time by yourself or with an adult. If you live in Newark, you can get a library card at Newark Public Library. Actually, it'll just be the code for your card and the password. I've actually posted it on the event, and you'll be able to access Ancestry online. And there you'll be able to kind of explore these different people. I've posted in this event page a video from YouTube that will take you through the steps of using Ancestry. And I've also posted in the event page who to email to get more your library card information, as well as your library password. And so I guess in closing, the most important thing that's a part of like exploring your personal history and your family history is to first realize that it's something that can make your connection to this world deeper. It could be richer. Like, it gives you this opportunity to see things that you looked at before. Like, I lived in Jersey City, and, you know, learning my mom's history about Jersey City, I saw things in a new way. And so what I really do encourage anyone who's like watching this, whether you're an adult or whether you're a teen, to take the time at least this weekend and at least like play the game, you know, take an hour on Saturday or Sunday, put some questions into the bowl, ask yourself these questions, make some lists of the people in your family, and take this time. I know some of us, our essential workers, are still working. Some of us, like me, are still working from home. But take some time to still connect and go a little deeper. And so I'm happy to be doing this workshop from Newark Public Library. And I want to say thank you to you all. So if you have any questions, please post it on the event page, and feel free to email me at nwilliams@npl.org. And I guess I'll be signing off, and I'll say ladies first. Peace.